Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, beloved Gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Sri Yukteswar Ji, Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, we humbly bow before you all, inviting your divine presence in our lives. O great masters, help us live in the changeless self within. Help us unite our will, our preferences, only to thy will. Give us then the strength to perceive your will and carry it out to the best of our abilities. We are your children. Bless our efforts. Om Shanti. Welcome back, friends. So, I was sharing that this is related to the subject of healing. That's how we pick up things. And there was a lady who came to Paramhansa Yogananda ji, and she said, "Sir, I've had a very difficult life." And Master, of course, was compassion itself. They were both talking. And he said, "I'm so sorry to hear that. I wonder how can I help you?" But you know how it is. Sometimes you just want to talk to somebody. And this lady said, "I've had a very hard life. I've had many health challenges." And Master said, "I'm sorry to hear that." And she said, "One time the surgeons, they removed, I had a tumor and they removed so much of my intestine." And Master said, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." And she went on and on. And then Master asked her, he said, that those are very big tests. When did all of this happen? Because it seemed like, how could so much happen in a short period of time? And she said, "Oh, these things happened 20 years ago." And Master thought about it, and that lady was no exception. You will agree, I hope, with me that something happens and we live our lives as if, that past, that event, that episode, whether it was right or wrong, it defines us. That, like Swamiji said, it's not what happens to you that is more important. What really is important is the reaction you have to things. Actually, by contrast, I invite you to go on YouTube and see Swami Kriyanandaji's video from 2007, his birthday celebration. He's up on stage, just so much energy, and he's looking around. He said, "Friends, today my doctors are with me here. I was in a hospital last week and I had a tumor. I had gallstones, and while doing the surgery, they found a tumor. They removed so much of my intestine. I want to thank them, but as you can see now, I'm feeling good." And then the doctors came on stage one by one, and you just have to shake your head that here is somebody, they cannot forget it after 20 years. Here's a man of dynamic energy. He went for an open heart surgery. That's quite a change. It can be the last surgery, the last episode of your life, because these are life-threatening procedures in some cases. And Swami said, when he came out, people asked him, "How were you, sir?" He said, "Oh, I went in bliss. I came out in bliss." We live in a time where bliss, joy, a happy, cheerful person. I learned a phrase just yesterday, the golden retriever personality, that a golden retriever personality is a person, they're just happy by nature. They see you, they smile, they are caring for you. It's like the sun is always shining on them. But if you look carefully, the sun is not shining on them. It's not the circumstances that make them like that. The sun is shining from inside them. This is the inner sun, the spiritual eye, the point between the two eyebrows. The spine is where, I've often made this point. In India, we go to places where, which are known as Jyotirlingas. And Swami Kriyanandaji explained in the book Hindu Way of Awakening that one time in deep meditation, he had the very interesting subjective experience where he found his own spine and brain assume the form of a linga. And he said that, and it's now, then think of your chakras. They are lit up, all positive qualities are shining through them. It's reflecting through your eyes and smiles and voice and behavior. That's a golden retriever personality in a very high order. But let's come to this subject, because are these two linked? Well, of course they are. let's say something happens to us in our lives and we are not, we're not happy about it. Well, it can lead to a disease. First of all, right there, you are not in ease. But for growth to happen, change is necessary. And for you and me who are on the spiritual path, especially of such beautiful, complete teachings which can bring us complete freedom, spiritual healing, you may say, finally, we must go right to the heart of this subject. So now I had the wonderful opportunity. I have a sister, she's 11 years younger than me, and now I've quoted her in so many satsangs. She doesn't mind the minor embarrassment these stories can cause somebody. So because she was 11 years younger than me, I used to take her to school sometimes. And I remember the first day she was going into the kindergarten, they're like, why are we leaving home in the first place? Why are we at this strange place where so many kids are there? And then you say, okay, now go inside. And they don't want to go inside. Other kids are crying. This is day one of schooling. They go, they run back. Then the teachers, one by one, they tell us to go. Then the whole scene that plays out. Well, then I remember some years later, she had the flair for playing lawn tennis, and I took her to the Bhupati Academy in Bangalore. And Mr. Bhupati, Senior Bhupati, he took a liking to her flexibility, her fitness. And within a month, there was a tennis competition on a national level of the fastest serve competition, as it was called. And she was so new to the academy, she was just paralyzed by self-doubts. And she said, I've just come, I shouldn't participate. But they were taking all the kids. And so she tried to avoid that a few times till she finally, fortunately, introspected. And she said, why am I running away from this test or opportunity, this change that has come? She thought she was there just to learn, but learning took a quick turn when she had to participate in this competition. And you know what happened? She ended up winning it on a national level. I mean, when these things happen, it teaches you something, that sometimes if you're calm inside, if you're centered inside, if you're talking to God, if you have a guru, if you're listening to your higher voice, if you can introspect enough, then you realize that God is actually not punishing you, but taking a very keen interest in your life if he's bringing rapid changes. Today, world over, people read and worship this great nature saint, you may say. He's an American, John Muir. And he discovered so many beautiful places in the US, national parks. You might say he was the father of the national park movement in the US. And at one time, he was climbing in the wilderness and he was right on top of this snow capped mountain when an avalanche started. And in his autobiography, he would write, that was the quickest descent from a mountain. With 20 seconds later, he was down. And what happened? People said most people don't survive an avalanche. Trees are crushed. Anything that comes in its way is simply buried and lost. How did John Muir live to tell the tale? He just had a little childlike nature, flexibility, and he said, oh, the avalanche started, it all started moving under me. I thought it's a great opportunity to ride an avalanche. When will I get this opportunity? And he said, I simply, like a child on a slide, I slid on it, sat on it, and reached down in a few seconds. Think of skiers, think of somebody like that. So what I'm trying to say, and we'll cover this subject in 2 weeks, as I've often been doing of late, but let's come to that resistance to change. What happens is, whether it's moving, and to finish that story, then my sister, of course, went to college. Now she's preparing for an exam in 2 weeks for post-graduation entrance. And you wonder that, will this stop? A part of you says, like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, why me? I don't want to do this. I don't want to fight this battle. I don't want to lift my energy. And it's linked to India's very beautiful ancient caste system. Now, that was never meant to become a hereditary confine. It was actually a moment by moment, you might say, scale. There are 4 scales: Shudra, Vaishya, Kshatriya, and Brahmin. And these are, again, not people. These are aspects of your consciousness. If I sit here and say, well, I'm tired of change and I don't want anything to change, just leave me alone, well, some rest is okay. But if you keep just not doing anything, how good is that? The bottom line is, would you be happy if nothing changed in your life? Weather didn't change, food didn't change, the way you look at life never changed. You never expanded your mind by reading, interacting with other people, introspecting, putting out energy, facing some tough situations in life. As you can guess the answer, the Shudra is the least. The happiness seems, the trick of the mind is, oh, I'll be most happy. You won't. So we don't want to be there. Well, you come out, you said, okay, let me participate in some change, but I'll draw the line over there. This is it. I work 9 to 5. This is the amount of money I get. Like this silly t-shirt message I saw somebody wearing many years ago. I'm not paid enough to talk to you kindly. And I thought, what a disservice this man is doing. Maybe he was wearing it casually, but what a disservice one would do if one measured his or her life that way. Well, this is it. I'll be good, but I will be good furthermore, no more. That's not a way. You are going to hurt yourself. Third stage, Kshatriya consciousness. Let it come. You develop skills in yourself, in your attitude, primarily in your heart. I want to do more. And you start realizing these heroic steps that people take in that level of consciousness, the changes they make in their life, in society. You and I read about them in textbooks. Warriors, politicians who were very generous, kind, scientists who went out of their way, philanthropists, so on and so forth, saints in the making. They go to the point where you and I would be like, wow, that was amazing. But if you ask them, their joy depended on it. They had to train themselves. But once you reach that stage of consciousness, you actually, the other side of being a Kshatriya is you start enjoying what's coming, the change life is bringing you, because it's an opportunity to improve yourself. What do we associate with the Kshatriya consciousness? Discipline, self-transformation, working on oneself, changing one's diet, how one relates to others, exercise, posture, breathing, uh, attitudes of courage, strength, willpower, willingness to serve others, willingness to die in the pursuit of service. Why? Because karma yoga, service, is joyful. You're not here. You've crossed that stage long ago where you said, what about me? It's not about you. That doesn't bring you happiness. You are here to say, what can I give? How can I serve? And because you and I are aspiring for the Brahman consciousness, the final consciousness, do measure yourself as a Kshatriya. I had this conversation with Swami Kriyananda ji, and he said, I tried to make my life that of a Brahmin many times. Naturally, he was a monk. He wanted to find God. But he said, I realized again and again that mine is the life of a Kshatriya. And yes, from a Kshatriya, especially when you're high Kshatriya, there's hardly a difference. And he was playing that dual role of serving people, serving, in different parts of the world, learning new languages, cultures. I saw him towards the end of his life. Change was the only constant in Kriyanandaji's life. So as we gain energy, more and more change will come. You're changing yourself, you're changing your karma. The important thing is not to resist it, but to come to expect it, to come to thank God for it, pray for his strength in that regard. And of course, finally, when we enter God consciousness, you realize that, or let's say states of calmness, peace, deep joy, you realize that that joy, for example, is the same on one level because it's joy. It's always there when you look for it. At the same time, it's never the same. So you never get tired of it. And so when we reach those kind of states, then we realize that from God's consciousness, which is changeless on one level, that it's not dual, but it is ever new. But from that, when things start going out, what else will happen except change? To find To look for outward stability in this world is to frankly look for it in the wrong place. Tomorrow in India, we are going to celebrate Independence Day. I like to think of it as independence, that if I'm calm, if I'm courageous, if I am uh, even wise, I will come to expect these outward changes and not resist them. When you resist it, you're mentally fighting it. Kriyanandaji says in his affirmation and a little extract he gives before the affirmation for good health in the book Affirmations for Self-Healing. He said, when will you find perfect health? He said, when every cell in your body cooperates with the mind, and when the mind itself has overcome fear, doubts, unwillingness, it's expressing the ability to love other people. So you see, things are happening, but if we don't get the mind on our side, if we don't get the body cells on our side, then we are always wishing things don't be what they are. And things, like I just expressed, they have their own momentum. So go back to that example, I'll close with this, of John Muir, that here you are on the mountaintop and Divine Mother decides you should be down in 20 seconds. She's going to start an avalanche, and you would enjoy it like no one else or very few people. If you learn how to be centered, if you can say, okay, Divine Mother, you bring me up, you take me down, I am your child. And I'll explain some of these concepts in more detail next week. Joy to you.